jltradio.com y Cecilia Taborelli presentan Citas Conscientes, un espacio para nutrir mente, cuerpo y alma, donde te invitamos no solo a decir presente, sino a estarlo, porque si no es aquí, ¿dónde? Y si no es ahora, ¿cuándo? Citas Conscientes con Cecilia Taborelli, un espacio de reflexión y armonía.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días, muy buen instante presente. Te doy la bienvenida a una nueva cita consciente, con los brazos abiertos como siempre y un corazón muy atento. Quiero contarte hoy que nuestra cita va a ser diferente a todas las que hemos hecho con anticipación. ¿Por qué? Por dos razones. Primero, porque el tema que vamos a tratar hoy tiene el potencial de tener tal impacto en tu vida y de hacer un cambio como lo hizo en la mía. Y esa es la razón por la cual decidí hacer esta cita, compartirte un poquito de mi experiencia personal para que puedas usarla como un referente para tu experiencia individual. La segunda razón es que la persona con la que vamos a conversar hoy no habla español. Entonces vas a notar que pusimos subtítulos en la parte de abajo de la pantalla para que nos puedas seguir. El potencial, como te dije antes, que tiene esta cita es tan grande y está directamente y proporcionalmente relacionado con el potencial que tiene tu ego de clasificarla como ridículo, como fantasioso, como tonto, como inaplicable. Entonces, sin mucho más, te invito a que me escuches más o menos por los próximos 10 minutos, donde te abro mi corazón y mi intimidad para contarte cómo fue mi viaje con el dolor, con el sufrimiento físico por casi 30 años. Aquí vamos. Gracias. Hola, soy Cecilia Taborelli, en Miami, Florida, y hoy estoy aquí para contarte acerca de mi experiencia con el dolor de espalda por más de 25 años. De hecho, fue a los 16 cuando tuve mi primer episodio de vértigo, esa sensación de que todo tu entorno gira a gran velocidad y te deja con una sensación de impotencia y de mucho miedo. Desde una leve contractura en la zona cervical hasta un dolor punzante y agudo y prácticamente paralizante en la zona lumbar, siento que he experimentado una gran variedad de colores y de intensidades en lo que hace al dolor de la columna. Y no fue hasta en el 2010 que me recomendaron hacerme una resonancia magnética cuando me identificaron 4 discos herniados y 2 abultados. Lo curioso de esa situación es que no había forma de justificar semejante daño en mi columna mediante ningún tipo de accidente, ya que nunca lo había tenido, razón por la cual la comunidad médica categorizó mi caso como un misterio clínico. Otro punto interesante es que si bien había sido consciente de este dolor y de este sufrimiento por tantos años, el momento preciso en el que recibí el diagnóstico fue para mí como una sentencia de muerte. De repente estaba ceñida a un nuevo estilo de vida mucho más limitado. Tenía que dejar de hacer ciertos movimientos, no podía realizar ciertos deportes, tenía que tomar cierta medicina para calmar el dolor de por vida y, por supuesto, terapia física por el resto de mi vida. Lo otro que me dejaron claro también es que mi condición era irreversible y que no se trataba de sanarla, sino que todo el tratamiento al que me iba a exponer simplemente apuntaba a ralentizar el proceso de manera de evitar tener que terminar en una silla de ruedas demasiado pronto y demasiado joven. Los años siguientes se transformaron en una cruzada contra el dolor. Me propuse buscar la forma de eliminarlo y por eso intenté todo tipo de tratamiento y de terapia imaginable: acupuntura, homeopatía, quiropraxia, masajes, rolfing, yoga, todo tipo de terapia que puedas pensar la puse en práctica. Y así y todo, si bien tuve momentos de alivio, lo cierto es que la causa raíz del dolor seguía estando. Pese a que podía empezar a vislumbrar cierta relación entre mis episodios de dolores físicos agudos y mi estado psicoemocional, aún no podía hacer total sentido de ello. Tanto fue así que mi dolor en la zona lumbar se tornó tan profundo y tan insoportable que decidí explorar la única posibilidad que durante tantos años me rehusaba a considerar: la cirugía de columna. Contacté al cirujano, quien me solicitó una nueva resonancia magnética para tener información más reciente sobre la condición de mi columna, y durante mi visita con él me sorprendió cuando me dijo que no era candidata para la cirugía por falta de mérito. Parecía que, pese a lo agudo de mi dolor en la zona lumbar, la resonancia magnética mostraba que el disco que estaba herniado hacía 4 años ya no lo estaba. El dato era revelador, alentador y hasta casi una buena noticia. El detalle es que me dejaba absolutamente desarmada y desahuciada frente al dolor, porque ya no tenía forma de resolverlo. Una tarde cae en mis manos el libro del Dr.John Sarno, Libérese del dolor de espalda. Con muy poca esperanza, pero también con mucha ilusión, leí el libro en unas pocas horas. Y para mi gran sorpresa, inmediatamente después de leerlo, sentí una profunda liberación. Tanto así que en las siguientes 48 horas no tuve registro de dolor en ninguna parte de mi columna. Por primera vez en mi vida, aún queriendo activarlo voluntariamente, no podía registrar el dolor en mi espalda. Y cuando estaba a punto de cantar victoria, porque finalmente había comprendido la íntima relación entre mi mente, mi cuerpo y mis emociones, el dolor vuelve a ser una entrada magistral en mi vida, como muy pocas veces antes. Y por primera vez en la historia de mi vida le di la bienvenida. Pude conectar con una sensación de libertad, de gratitud y de bendición, porque entendí que esa manifestación del dolor era la confirmación de que el síndrome de tensión mioneural es real. Y desde ese momento entendí que estaba en camino de recuperación a través de una claridad y una sabiduría que nunca antes había tenido. Con el fin de profundizar un poco más en el conocimiento del TMS, es que adquirí el libro de Ozanich, La gran farsa del dolor, y puedo decirles que fue luego de finalizar ese libro que hoy me siento absolutamente empoderada para vivir una vida lejos del dolor físico, en total bienestar, armonía y plenitud. Muchas gracias. Muchísimas gracias por haber estado escuchando mi testimonio. Estamos listos entonces para darle la bienvenida a Ozanich, que es el autor del libro La gran farsa del dolor y discípulo del prestigioso Dr. John Sarno. Welcome, Ozanich.
Hi, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for making time in your very busy schedule, because I know it is very busy. And all I can say is that I'm honored to have you here. And I'm sure people, as we walk through this interview, will understand why I'm so honored to have you. As you know, I shared with my audience my testimonial with TMS. And I thought that was a good idea because the intent is that we use that as a platform, like a solid ground where we can take off and start exploring this fascinating subject called TMS. And this is where I need your help. I like to start from the very, very basics. And I already warned my audience that they need to bear with us. Why? Because the too good to be true, I think, is applicable here, okay? And you guys will understand why. So why don't we start by asking you to kindly share with us, what is TMS?
Sure, thank you. TMS is an acronym that stands for tension mioneural syndrome, or more recently, the mind-body syndrome. As we get into this deeper and deeper, we're starting to see that everybody has this syndrome in the world, but there's only a few people that can see that they do. And of course, it was the idea or concept of Dr. John Sarno, the late Dr. John Sarno from the New York University Medical Center, that saved my life, which is why I decided to write 3 books on the topic, and it's how you found me.
So that's too good to be true. The reason I'm bringing it back is because, again, and I'm going to share this with my audience, when I read Dr. Sarno's book the first time, I only read the first 2 pages. And I felt like insulted by the message. For someone who has been dealing with chronic pain for a decade or 2 or 3, to read something that's so powerful, but so basic, might sound insulting. So I was fascinated by the fact that there are certain people with certain personality traits, I would say, that are more prone to developing TMS. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, that is one of the brilliant observations of Dr. Sarno. He discovered probably 40 years ago now that these people that had back pain and hand pain, foot pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, digestive problems, sleeplessness, pretty much everything that we get as human beings was not coming from the physical body. It was really coming from the autonomic nervous system, but it was being blamed by other doctors on the physical body, like herniated discs and arthritis and stenosis and spondylolisthesis, plantar fasciitis, the whole gamut that the medical industry has made up. He discovered and proved clinically that it is not coming from those things that are seen on the x-rays and the imagings, that it's being created in the mind, and it's actually attacking those things in the body. And the people who get these symptoms more often than others have a certain personality trait that he had identified in his office through the decades of the goodist, the perfectionist, the warrior, the detail-oriented person. Now, not everybody has to have that exact personality trait, but the majority of them do. And they're the ones that suffer from the plethora of symptoms that are usually chronic and lifetime, until he discovered that this TMS, this conflict that was in these people. And once he began to explain to them that there's nothing wrong with your shoulder, your foot, your back, or your neck, or whatever. It's your brain is doing that on purpose to make you think about your body.
Okay.
That way, you're not thinking about what's going on in your psyche.
But so this is confusing, not to me, because as you know, I've gone through this before, but I'm sure people, because again, our ego is screaming at us saying, wait a minute. Are you then telling me that the pain I feel in my neck, in my lumbar, in my knee, in my shoulder is imaginary? That I'm like making it up, that it doesn't exist, and my brain is just creating, is that what you're trying to say?
No, that is usually the first reaction from people, is that we're telling them that they're making it up and it's not real. That's not true at all, of course. It's the opposite of that. As Dr. Sarno said, it's the most painful thing he had ever seen in clinical medicine. When we have a back pain, it can knock us to the floor, as most people well know. Foot pain, hand pain, yes. And then you get this imaging, and there's something there. There's always something there, whether it's, a bone spur or a herniation or something like that. But these people heal anyway. And so he learned clinically, it's not coming from the physical body. He basically turned the medical paradigm upside down on its head. And of course, he wasn't liked by many doctors, but he helped to heal millions of people around the world, which is one of the reasons I got my book translated into Spanish, because I wanted to take this message to the Spanish-speaking world. It works virtually every single time. As long as you believe that, that herniated disc in your back is causing your pain, you cannot heal. You
Well,
cannot, and the arthritis or the other things on the imaging.
in my testimonial again is a living proof of that, because when I felt the pain became excruciating is actually when the injury, the damage itself was not there any longer. So there was no correlation. And I went through this and I have all the medical records to share with everybody. Like my pain was going up and my injury was healing. So one was going up, the other one was going down. I'm like, wait a sec, that doesn't make any sense. So my question to you is, why do we always conclude that if there is pain, there is an injury, and if there is an injury, there should be pain? Is that the way we've been educated?
Yes, I think, brainwashed is a better word, I think, than educated. That we've been taught that if you hear a popping sound in your back or there's a herniated disc there, that you've injured yourself. But that herniation is probably there before you're injured. And we know without doubt through 40 years of clinical proof that herniated discs do not cause back pain. That's the old myth that the medical industry had created. And the same thing with the other anomalies that you'll see in the body. They are what Dr. Sarno called gray hairs of the body, gray hairs of the spine. We naturally start to age and our bodies get arthritis naturally. But this is the brilliant observation. He discovered that your brain will go attack those sites. It will go after that old injury. It will go after the herniation. It will go after the stenosis. It will go after the arthritis to make you think that something's wrong there. Now, it does sound crazy. It sounds crazy, and I didn't believe it. I was like you. I did not believe this either.
Right.
I actually threw his book when I first started to read it because I had a paralyzed left leg. My left leg was paralyzed. No muscle function, no motor function, no reflexes for almost a year. And of course, the images, the MRI showed a herniated disc there. And so they started to correlate it with that herniated disc. And then I found his work and saw, it's not coming from there. My brain was withdrawing blood to that site in my back to create a painful experience so that I would not be aware of this deep conflict that's going on inside of my mind. And so it is a mind-body effect. It is a mind-body effect. And as the good doctor got older, he realized, it's everything really. It's even things like multiple sclerosis and cancers and autoimmune things. A deep psychic conflict of all this pressure that we put on ourselves to be good people, to be responsible people, to do it right, to get it right. And of course, it's all based in childhood. And so ultimately, it is a personality issue. It is not a physical body problem. And as long as we chase this problem around through the medical industry, you're just going to go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and it's just going to keep moving. The pain will move from shoulder to knee, from knee to foot, from hand to neck to back, all around in what he called the symptom imperative phenomenon, which was, he should have won the Nobel Prize in medicine for this discovery. But I can tell anyone listening to this, it works.
So I have a question.
If you haven't found an answer, this is the answer.
I know it is, but I'm trying to be the devil's advocate and ask you all these questions because
Yes.
I can read minds and I can see people saying, "What? Well, wait a sec. Wait, no, that's not true." So I'm trying to really, channel through me all these questions. And so I understand that the physical pain doesn't necessarily have to be a result of an injury or damage. I can buy that, Steve. Why is pain there then? Why would my brain, out of the blue, just stab me, send me like a stabbing, paralyzing pain in my low back? What for? Does he hate me? Do we have a relationship issue going on here? Please?
That's a good point. When I do lectures, I talk about that. There is a lot of self-hatred for ourselves that gets deeper into the personality. The pain has different purposes. The first purpose is that it's a gift given to us from nature to save our lives. You want to know when you're burning your hand. You want to know when you've broken a bone. You want to know when you've got a cut. And so it is a gift to let us know we're in danger here. But now comes chronicity. pain that lingers for months and years. And in my case, I had back pain for 30 straight years, 30 years until I found his work. And it's been gone now for 20 years. And so it has a noble purpose to protect our lives. But then beyond that, it has what would be a psychic purpose, which is to divert your awareness to your physical body and away from your boss, your husband, your wife, your kids, your work, all of these things. When we get overwhelmed, the brain can't take it anymore, and it will create a symptom to make us rivet our attention there.
Wow. So I remember reading in your book about awareness and how healing can be achieved through awareness. And now I do have a question that's coming from me, Cecilia, not from other minds. Because when I read that, I thought, okay, that makes sense to a certain extent. Because when I had my diagnosed in my hands and they told me this is irreversible, you may end up in a wheelchair, you cannot heal 5 herniated discs, there is no way you're not gonna go back. We can slow it down, but we cannot reverse the process. That was awareness in me about my symptomatology, my physiology, my condition, my limitations. I was fully aware of it. But that type of awareness, far from freeing me from the pain, made it perpetual in time. It made me so aware of all the limitations that I had that I started to live a very limited life because of that awareness. So can you shed some light on this? Like, I know there is another step which I went through. The first level of awareness is the one a doctor takes us to when they hand over, here's your diagnosis, this is your condition. But there is more depth in that awareness to be reached. Am I right?
Yes, it is completely about awareness. We're not aware how angry we are in life. We're not aware of how much pressure we're putting on ourselves. We're not aware about how unhappy we are at certain times. And so the brain comes along, as Dr. Sarno said, to do you a favor. It's trying to help you. You know, it's in some way, it's a message being sent to us that you're deeply conflicted here. You're not really very happy. And so the awareness that like you mentioned, the doctors give us begins to hurt us badly by saying, oh, look at your MRIs. You've got this, you've got this, you've got that. And now your awareness shifts to your physical body in worry. And of course, everything falls apart at that point because it's not coming from the structure of the body. It's not coming from the structure. You could look at it as coming from your autonomic nervous system at some point. But I don't like to talk about it in terms of physiology at all. Think of it in terms of a psychic conflict. That's the way to think of this, because we know from proof everybody's healing. Everybody is healing. But there's a big caveat here. You have to believe it, which very few people do. They say, no, I still believe that herniated disc or that arthritis in my hip or knee is causing it. We know that's not true. But most people want to believe that. And there's a good reason why. Because those symptoms that you're getting in your body, they're trying to hide something from you. They're trying to hide the truth in you. And if you don't want to know the truth, which is why you've repressed it, then of course you want to believe something's wrong with your physical body. Of course you do not want to believe in TMS because it's trying to help you. It's trying to keep you unaware at that point.
Well,
and so you have to want to heal first.
And to validate what you're saying that resonates so deeply within me, I can share an episode. I was with my son in a supermarket getting some groceries, and I received a phone call from one of my customers saying that he was not going to make a purchase that I already had foreseen happening, and I was expecting it. And so I go back in because I went outside to have better signal on my phone. I go back in and I continue to look on the shelf for the product I was looking for, and suddenly I am hit with this stabbing pain in my low back. And I had to really grab onto the shelf so I wouldn't collapse. And the first thought, and it's so fascinating because once you are aware and you can kind of detach from yourself and look at yourself as a separate entity, I'm like, wait a sec. You just heard those news that you're not happy about, right? Okay. Feel the pain. Are you angry? Are you frustrated? No, the first thought that came to my mind, like if I had been able to make an X-ray on my situation at that moment in time, was this: oh my God, the wheelchair is becoming a reality. Then, because I already knew all of this, I could step back and say, wait a sec, you just got a phone call that you were not expecting and that the news, I'm sorry, sucked. So, hello, can you connect the dots? But it takes a lot of awareness. And as I said, that's why I told you about the doctor and the diagnose, because that level of awareness is like one of the layers of the onion. Okay, now I'm more aware of my condition. Well, that's not going to make me heal. That's going to make me be more aware of my own limitations and restrictions. So I really need to take it to the next level. So in that area, would you please help us? Once I reach that level where I know my mind, my brain is sending an instruction to hit me with the physical pain because evidently I want to repress some emotions that are not welcome in my life, what kind of technique, what can I do? What kind of resources can I reach out to not be dragged back down to the old, oh my God, the wheelchair, oh my God, I'm really getting worse, oh my back is damaged completely. How do I rescue myself from that?
That's a big question.
I know.
Big question. It's a good question, but a big question. First of all, it's very important that we protect our lives first. We want to be responsible people with this beautiful gift of this body that we've been given. So go to the doctor. Make sure there's nothing dangerous there, that it's life-threatening. We're not telling people that, doctors are bad and this.
No.
I'm saying their diagnosis is almost always wrong, but we still have to protect the life first and foremost. For example, an ulcer is a mind-body event. An ulcer is a stress tension event. But if you don't get the bleeding taken care of, you could die. Mm-hmm. And it can morph into many more dangerous things. And so please be responsible. Okay. Now, once your doctor tells you that you've got, this, and this, and you're not in danger, then you can ignore what he said there, or he or she said there, as far as arthritis and herniations and stenosis. You can ignore that. And then start reading about TMS. Get Dr. Sarno's brilliant books. You can get my books if you like. Understand what's going on between your mind and body and see if you fit the personality profile. You see, TMS is what we call a diagnosis of exclusion, which means you can't look at your body directly and say you've got TMS. You have to back into it. You have to, there's no T or M or S on our body to tell us on an image that we have it. So these brilliant doctors that Dr. Sarno trained, we call TMS physicians, they'll talk to you for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's where they learn about you. What happened? Like in your case, something sucked that day, right? And what about your personality? What about your childhood relationship with your parents? What about your health history? That's very important to the TMS doctors, your health history. Most people will realize they've had TMS their whole lives through the, sore throats and nosebleeds and swollen glands and things like that. And so then when we're all done, we look at the big picture and we say, you've got TMS. We come to a conclusion. And so protect the life, then read about it, see how that template fits your life. Mm-hmm. Some people will heal right in front of me when I'm talking to them. They have fibromyalgia and they're all twisted and contorted like this because they believed their doctor's words that they were crippled and could not be healed and they would have to learn to manage it forever. And so their awareness shifts to that problem. And then when I'm working with them and talking to them, some of the people can immediately say, oh, wow, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm doing this to myself as a coping mechanism. And they will heal right there. Some people that have tried 10, 20 years to heal from neck and back pain will heal right there within a few minutes. That's how powerful the mind is. The mind is crippling us and the mind can heal us.
So I remember reading that we need to learn how to shift from thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not expressing this in the correct way, but it was kind of like we need to learn how to think emotionally instead of psychologically. Because the first thing that we do is go back in here. And none of the answers are going to be found in this tool, right? We got to bring it down here. Now, I've talked to some friends about this, and some of them were like, listen, I've suffered from this pain for the last 30 years. I'm not going to go back to find out if I repressed emotions when I was 3, 4, 5, 7 years old. I don't want to go back to that, dirt, and I'd rather deal with the physical pain. And I'm like, you are explicitly acknowledging the choice that a lot of people don't even want to be aware of. Right? So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because let's say someone kind of feels like there is some truth in what we are talking about, but they don't feel like going back when they are 50, 60, 40. They don't feel like going back 30 years ago when they were kids and what happened with mom. And maybe they don't even know, because if there was a trauma, right, that we recognize quickly, okay, fair enough. But many times there's nothing major that we could pinpoint quickly in our story. So how do you deal with that situation?
Another big question, an important question. Sometimes people will need psychotherapy. It's not very often. It's not very common. Maybe a small percentage of the time, 5 or 10%, maybe. That's on the high end, I think. Sometimes there's a deep trauma from childhood there that has crippled the person. Where I work with people in wheelchairs, they can't get out of bed. Like Dr. Sarno's famous patient, Helen. I don't know if you remember her, but she's the paragon of TMS examples that we use. She was crippled with severe hip and back pain, unable to get out of bed for years. Wow. They heard about Dr. Sarno in New York, and her family got her up there to see him. And he immediately said, you should probably see a therapist because you've been bedridden for so long, And so she went down there, and she realized she had been molested by her father when she was 5 years old. Oh. Now she didn't know that. She had repressed it. And so they sent her to an incest support group, and she got worse. And she panicked. And she called Dr. Sarno back, and she said, I believe you, Dr. Sarno. I believe this is TMS. I believe this is the cause, but I'm not getting better with the knowledge. I'm getting worse. Now, the woman's husband was standing there, and he said to her, but you're talking about 40 years of repression. And when he said that, she collapsed on the ground. She fell down on the ground and started to scream. I want to die. She said, I want to die. Hold me. You see, there's a conflict there. Totally. Do you want to die, or do you want to be held? That's the conflict that's waging in all of us, right? Totally. And so within a couple minutes, all of her pain left, all of it, that she had been fighting her entire life, because of the awareness. Her husband gave her the healing words. He basically said in that moment, you've been lying to yourself for 40 years. Wow. It was the truth that set her free. There was never anything wrong with her back and hips, that she had been to multiple doctors. There was never anything wrong. Like me, I'd been to every doctor there was. And I had a paralyzed leg. And there was nothing wrong with the structure of my body. It was a deep, deep conflict within me that was being played out in my body. This that you and I are talking about is an evolution in human consciousness. It is. Anybody listening to this, there's a new sheriff in town. There's a new shift in paradigm in our health and our healing because of this brilliant Dr. Sarno. And it's tearing across the world. I work with people in dozens of countries around the world. They're all holding up his books in their languages, because they're in like 26 languages, and they're healing by the millions. This is a new shift in understanding. That old medical paradigm from the 1900s is gone. It's gone.
It is just fascinating. I feel so touched by this topic because I went through it, and everybody who knows me and who I've shared my pain with They saw my shifts. They saw me. I love sunbathing, and I was never able to lay on my stomach. Never. Because for me to go back up, I had to call someone to help me. I felt like I was 80 years old, right? So little tiny things in my life that I had completely stopped doing. I couldn't move the clothes from the washer to the dryer because doctor said no bending, no twisting. So I wasn't able to do that move anymore. Was I not able to, or was I made to believe that I was not supposed to do it, right? So
Yes.
Again, it takes some courage, let me tell you, because after I read the book and then I felt the pain disappearing, it came back again stronger than before. And I remember I was with my husband and we were walking around and I said, please stay with me, but do not interfere. All I need you to do is just stay here calmly so I feel safe and taken care of, but I am gonna deal with it. And I remember the stabbing came back and I continued to walk. I took very deep breaths saying, okay, this is not my body. There is nothing wrong with my body. I had already talked to my doctor. I knew that my hernia discs had been healed. So I was talking to myself all the time and kind of trying to overcome the pain, which probably lasted, 30 seconds. And it went away. And I was like, wow, this works. And I wasn't doing anything different to what I had done before, or I should say totally different, because same body, same place, same person, same husband. So it is crazy. That's what I'm saying. I warned my audience because a lot of people might be thinking this is BS. Look, this is my MRI results. I have 55 herniated discs, more than you have in your own spine, right? Stenosis. And so it's like me. Okay, I get it worked for you, but me, let me tell you, I'm a different case. Do you want to know? I'll explain why my case is different. Let me share with you. And they want to convince you that they are right. Are they protecting the pain? Are they trying to stick to the pain?
Yes, that's another great point. This is my 19th year of doing this work. I healed around the year 2000, sometime around there. I began to help people immediately. And I can tell you, anybody listening right now, I know exactly what their questions are by now. Okay, it's been 20 years.
I'm sure you do.
Okay, there's a small handful of people that think it's all BS and it has nothing to do with them. Okay, they're the ones who are really guarding, like you said, protecting their pain, protecting this emotional process, the problem that's within them. They're going to struggle a little. Okay,
Yep.
The majority of people who are listening are probably going, yeah, that makes sense. But this is what they're thinking right now. But what do I do?
Right.
What do I do? This is the problem. Okay, I'll explain this. If you go look, Dr. Sarno changed the world forever. I mean, he was, in my opinion, the greatest doctor that ever lived. Okay,
I agree.
but go look at his book reviews of healing back pain on Amazon. There's 1,000 5-star reviews, and there's a small handful of 1-star reviews. Go look at those 1-star reviews. They're almost all saying the same thing. He didn't tell me what to do. See, these people are looking for something to tick off.
Yep.
If I do X, Y, and Z, I will be healed. It doesn't work that way. It's your doing of X, Y, and Z that's causing the pain. Okay?
Right.
And so when I work with people, I try to undo things, undo them. You're mentally strained. I can't put it any simpler than that. If you have severe chronic problems, you're mentally strained at some point. There's a conflict within you trying to pretend to be somebody else than you really are. Inauthenticity is a big problem here.
Yes.
A big, big problem. I just got an email yesterday from a lady in New York. She said, thank you. She heard me on an interview I did in Ireland. And I was talking about Anita Morjani's work, the lady who died from stage 4 cancer and came back. And she wrote a book called Dying to Be Me.
Oh, yes. Amazing book. Amazing.
Yes, I sent her a copy of The Great Pain Deception, La Gran Farsa del Dolor, and she's either reading it now or going to read it. And her and I are saying the same thing, although her story was more dramatic than mine, of course.
Yeah.
She died.
Yeah.
But it's this inauthenticity of trying to make everybody happy. And she lost herself. She didn't know who she was anymore. She was so conflicted between the way she was acting and how she really felt, and it actually killed her.
Yeah.
That's how powerful this is. This work, you don't mess around with this. Like Dr. Sarno would say, don't mess around with it.
No,
Okay?
and there is a couple of extra points I'd like to make to help people kind of relate to this. One is, and I talked to my husband about this so many times, when I was on the road to recovery, when I was fully aware and I had made a decision, I don't know how much to reinforce this. There is a decision to be made. This is not magic. This is no one coming with a magic wand saying, you are healed. No, you have to make a decision and work with yourself, with your inner world and with your emotions. But while you're doing that, you go out and live and deal with your people around you who have seen you suffering for 10, 20, 30 years. And what do? Now they look at you moving clothes from the washer to the dryer. What do? Oh, no. Let me do it. Don't do it. Don't touch it. Don't lift it. Don't bend. Don't. So I'm like, wait a second. Why shouldn't I? And I was kind of joking because, yeah, he knows why. Because every time I did it, of course, the consequence was horrible because I ended up with pain, right? So he was trying to protect me, my husband. But at the same time, he was perpetuating a situation that I was trying to shake off. I'm like, give me some space. So I think it's really critical that we tell everybody around us, hey, I'm giving this a shot. Please support me. Don't think I'm crazy. I'm not trying to hurt myself. I'm really trying to heal myself. Does that make sense?
Yes, you said something there is very important for people to hear. There's a decision to be made here. And that's why I said early on that you have to want to heal first.
Yes.
And people, I will show them this work. They absolutely 100% have TMS. I can see it. Okay. They won't buy into it. And I said, all right, why don't you want to heal? And they'll say, oh, that's crazy. I want to get rid of my pain. I say, getting rid of pain is not healing.
Right.
Getting rid of the symptom is not healing. There are many ways that you can get rid of the symptoms. We're looking to get rid of the cause of the pain, not the symptom itself. And so once they begin to listen, they have a decision to make here. Okay. Now I made that decision and it was the greatest decision of my life because I wouldn't have lived much longer. I was almost dead at this point. I lost 54 pounds in 1999. I couldn't eat anymore from the pain. I couldn't stand up anymore. And the whole time they're telling me I had a herniated disc. It was never true. That was never true. I mean, I have the herniated disc, but it wasn't being caused by the herniated disc. And so there's a decision to be made. But a lot of people, I'm sure you've seen the same thing that I've seen. Once you heal, they see you heal. They still don't think it has anything to do with them.
Right.
No, that's you, not me.
Totally. And I always wonder, and I'm going to be completely honest and open up with my audience here, but I caught myself doing this because think about it. Okay, my husband knows that if I twist and bend and I do I move the clothes from the washer to the dryer, I'm going to be painful afterwards. So what is he going to do? Offer help. So how am I going to feel? Loved, nurtured, taken care of. I am receiving attention. So to me, which human being on earth would not like that, right? Well, I have a pain. Yes, I can deal with that. But give me all that attention and love. So I feel kind of like there is a gift behind, a gift that sucks, I'm sorry, behind that game, which is a pathetic game, but we get so used to it that you even think, if I heal myself, am I going to continue receiving that much attention?
That's what Sigmund Freud called secondary gain. And I've had people tell me bluntly, after reading your book, I do see that I'm getting attention now that I would not normally get. Now, Dr. Sarno claimed in his earlier books that he didn't see that in his patients, but it's probably because by the time they found him, They were desperate. They wanted to heal. They did not want any gain from it. They were ready to get rid of it, or they wouldn't have traveled to New York, of course.
Right.
And so he probably did not see that very much. But people will tell me, admittedly, I don't want to hear that garbage about TMS, because they're on disability. They're fishing every day, drinking beer on disability. They don't want to go back to work. They tell me.
Living the good life.
Yeah. No, that doesn't happen with everybody. That's just a small group of people, of course.
Of course.
But the gain may be unconscious. They may not even realize it, like you said. They like the attention from it. Now, most people, by the time they contact me, they don't want that secondary gain. They're ready to get rid of it. That's why they contact me. And so there may be that, what you said, most of the people just want to know what to do. That's all. What do I do? They go right to the books and they're looking for, what do I do? What do I do? There is no doing. Okay, there's undoing at this point. You've stressed yourself out to the max. You can't take anymore. You're asking too much of yourself. You're not genuine to who you are to yourself. You're not acting the way you want to act. You're not living your life the way you want to live it. And of course, the doctors come along and then they imprison you by saying, oh, you've got this, and you've got this. If you buy into that, you're crippled for life at that point. And if you want to heal, look into TMS. It is the answer. I am a witness. I'm a living proof, and you are as well. But I've also seen tens of thousands of people heal from my books alone. I know that anybody can heal if they want to.
Yeah. And I would humbly add to that, which is, of course, in your book, but there's so much information in your book that it's just, I just love it. I'll show you, I'll put it on the screen in a few minutes, but sometimes I've been asked this question. Okay, so how do I convert? How do I modify my emotions? You're asking me way too much. I am not a robot. I cannot be, pushing buttons. And I'm like, it's not about changing anything that's surfacing and happening. It's about being aware of it. So if there is a to-do, I would humbly suggest, based on my individual experience, when that pain at a physical level hits you, don't just watch yourself. Just watch yourself and see how you feel, what comes to your mind. Is fear popping up and saying, there you go, it's getting worse? What is it? So the first thing is, as you said, awareness. Be aware of what happens on your screen when that pain hits you. And then if you feel sad or frustrated or whatever, it's not about saying, oh, I'm not supposed to change, I am supposed to be the good girl. Okay, frustration, go away. No, just take it all in. Go through your emotions. Don't repress them. Because if you're trying to be the good girl that I spent my entire life trying to, and I failed miserably, not for the outer world, but for my inner world, then you are perpetuating that situation in time.
Yes, and you're talking about the heart of my work really right now, that my work in consulting and in lecturing, it's about presence.
Beautiful.
That's it. It used to be called mindfulness. I shut my book down and I took the word mindfulness out of the book because I don't like that word at all. The word presence is a better word.
Love it.
About the presence of being. Because like we said earlier, sometimes there's a very severe trauma that might need some psychotherapy, but that's very rare. But it could happen. It could happen. I thought about it myself at one point, but most of the people will just need to start becoming more aware and more present. Get out of the thinking, intellectualizing mind. That's the thing that's causing the stress. That's the thing that's causing the resentment, the fear, the anger. It's in the mind. The more present we become, the fear becomes destroyed. And anger is just a result of fear. That's where anger comes from. It's a very important mechanism in our survival. Anger is important in our survival. If you're being attacked by something, you need to either fight that situation or run away from that situation. The anger is that energy that causes you to survive. It all comes from fear first.
Totally.
Okay, but because of the personality type, they're always under attack. in their minds from not looking perfect, not saying the right things all the time, having to look perfect all the time, especially in women. They have a lot more fibromyalgia than men. They have a lot more trigeminal neuralgia than men in their face because they have to be nice more often than men do. They have to look better than men all the time. And so they suffer higher levels of anger, fear, and anxiety from these things, not looking on. And then now we live in a world of technology. You have to be on every second. Everybody's filming you, pictures of you, everything we do. And so the tension's rising in the world. Everyone's getting this syndrome, TMS.
Can I share a secret with you? I'm embarrassed, but I have to because
I won't tell anybody.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this interview and I'm like, oh, Cecilia, are you ready to this? Come on. I mean, English is not your native language. You're not at the height of Steve to, have a conversation at that level on this topic. And my brain went on, and I had to really stop it. Like, please stop it. You're not going to take me there. And then a couple of nights ago, I started to feel my pain in my low back. And it's mathematic. I mean, it's like, oh my goodness, this is a mathematical formula. I start to get this active, and then because of course, if I feel I'm not at the level, at the height of his expectations to have this interview with Steve, then how am I feeling? Not good enough, right? So that's an emotion that I don't want to deal with, so I'm pushing it back. And then my body saying, hello again, stopping pain is coming back. And because I've gone through all of this, and because I reached that level of awareness, which is not at the top, but it's much, higher than before, I was able to lovingly rescue me and say, no, Cecilia, this is not necessary. My body, you're good. Mind, shut down. You're not taking me into a loving path. So I made a conscious choice that did not allow me or prevented me from ending up again in that very well-known dark place. I love it.
Right. And that's when you're stressed out, you're not present anymore because your mind is extending from this moment to an outcome. You're thinking of the outcome. And same thing with depression. If you're depressed, you're thinking of outcomes. You're no longer present. When you learn presence, and it takes practice, by the way, years of practice, the better we get at being, the closer we get to supreme being.
Yep.
If you were perfectly present, you would transfigure into a beam of white light and disappear in front of me right now. We call it Christ consciousness, or where there's many different names for it, nirvana or whatever. That samadhi is another name for it. When we become perfectly present, we go back to where we are, what we really are. Consciousness, that's what we are. Totally. We are not these physical bodies. But now we start to worry. They're the ego and the mind and the physical bodies, all these things. And we're getting very philosophical here, of course. A lot of people are probably wondering, all right, still, what do I do? Still don't know what to do here. But we do have to take it deeper. And every year I learn more and more and more. It is about consciousness. That's what it's about. And being, the presence of being. The word Buddha itself means above your intellect. Buddhi means intellect, Dada means above. That's how he became enlightened. That's how he got rid of his suffering, above his intellect. It's not going to be solved from here.
No.
Because that's the thing that's causing the problems.
Absolutely.
It's going to be solved by destroying the intellect and the mind and start to fall back into being again, out of fight, flight, into this perfect state of presence. If you would have been present, your back would have not started to act up on you, but it was already thinking ahead to an outcome.
Totally. Thank you for that. That's very clarifying. And I just love the process. I just love the fact that I am empowered to rescue me, to bring me back to that presence, to that consciousness level where there is just peace, when there is no computer running 24/7 and making me feel this or that, and then I have to choose, do I repress it, do I magnify, do I hide it? No, just let it flow through you. And if people are still asking and wondering what they can do, and like, what can we do? I have a suggestion. This is the first step. This one right here. This is the Bible. If anything oh, that's the Spanish version. Can you show it? La
The
gran
Spanish
farsa
version.
del dolor. Beautiful. I mean, when I bought this one, it was in Spanish. Now we have the luxury of being able to get to that material in our language, Spanish. So thank you so much for that, because I've been living here for 20 years now, and there's so much wisdom here to be shared with the Spanish-speaking world, but the material is not translated. So a lot of people who are ready to heal just don't have access to it. And that is the main intent of this time together. So now I think we have like 8 minutes left. I'd like for you, Steve, because I never introduce my people at the beginning, because I want my audience to have a feel, to feel you, to listen to your words, to really see where you're coming from, what you're offering, without labels and accreditations and titles. But now it's your turn to share with all of our audience whatever you want to share, who you are, how they can contact you. Please take over.
Sure. Thank you, by the way, for this opportunity. I know it sounds strange, but I'm happy that you had TMS. Because for several reasons. We're here now talking about it. We're able to help people because you and I both had it. And also because, as you know, you're going to be a happier person because you had it. You're going to be more authentic and genuine. You're going to be more grounded and at peace inside. Your life is going to be more fulfilling. Everything's better once you come through this process.
True.
Once you come through this process. And so it has a noble purpose to it.
Totally.
And as far as me, I'm a guy. I suffered for 30 years. I tried everything there was, chiropractic and everything but surgery. Luckily, I did not try the surgery, thankfully, because it doesn't work. I was even hanging upside down like a bat at one point, trying to stretch my back out.
It felt good, though.
Yes. I like to be able to fly around the room part. That was the good part. But this wasn't just back pain. I mean, it would move into my knees sometimes. I always had heartburn, things like that. I was always sleeplessness. I had problems like that. And so all those resolved 20 years ago. And so I was suffering so bad that I wanted to help other people. It's very simple. I remember Jesus wrote, "To whom much is given, much will be asked." And I was given my life with this work. And so I decided to dedicate my life to helping other people. And the book is doing well in English. It's doing well. I've received tens of thousands of emails from people who have healed, some of them just by reading it. Some of them had to do a little more work. But I wanted to take it beyond the English-speaking world at some point because it works.
It does.
It actually works. If you want to heal, make that decision, okay, and are courageous enough. I think it takes some courage to want to heal, to become yourself.
It does.
It takes some courage to peel the mask off of the face, the false mask. Remember, superego is a false face. The word persona is what Carl Jung talked about all the time.
True.
It's the root word of the word personality. It's a Latin word that means mask. So it's false. This face we put on every day is false. Okay. When that conflict, you start to grapple with that conflict, it can become dangerous. We have to be very careful with it. So think of your pain or your migraine or your whatever it's as a warning shot. It's a warning shot. It's doing you a favor. Hey, you're on the wrong path here. And so in my book, as you know by reading it, I laid it out into great detail.
Beautiful.
Okay. I told my story up front. Dr. Sarno told me, "Steve, the heart of your book is your story. That's the heart of the book."
True.
He was right. And then I talk about the psychology behind it. I give many examples of how people have healed. And then at the end of the book is basically a philosophy upon which to how to live a better life at some point.
It's a piece of art, Steve. It really is. I congratulate you for that and commend you for that, because there is so much information. I started highlighting it, and I can show you. See? It's highlighted, I don't know if you can see, and making some notes. And at some point in time, I had to stop because I realized I was highlighting paragraphs. I mean, all the information resonated so much within me that I said, okay, I can't highlight the whole book. So I continue to just, ingest and digest all the content. So Steve, I want to thank you. I feel so blessed to have you here with me. There's no words to express my gratitude for you, for the book, for your pain, for your TMS, for your big heart, and for your willingness to be at service to others so more people can heal every day. I really thank you. I feel in my heart that this is only the first of some other interviews to come. I'm gonna ask my audience if you have questions, specific things that you'd like us to discuss in the next interview, please share that with me. And if Steve is willing to do a second round, we'll do it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good idea. This is a first step for us here.
It is.
I haven't been able to take it to the Spanish-speaking world because I can't speak Spanish. And so I can't tell you how grateful I am that you've decided to do this too. It really is very important for people. If you and I save one life here today, we did a good job.
Thank you so much, Steve. This applause is for you. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day. Bueno, he trascendido mis miedos y temores de animarme una vez más a atravesar mis propios límites. Es la primera vez que hago una cita en inglés y la verdad es que todos mis miedos, después de haberla terminado, se ven reducidos a la nada misma. Porque como dijo Steve, si una sola persona escuchó esto, le hizo sentido y lo ayudó a acercarse a la sanación, el trabajo está más que hecho y yo absolutamente feliz y bendecida. Los espero nuevamente el próximo jueves. Gracias a la infinidad de mensajes que recibo por todas las redes sociales. Intento responder algunos, pero si me pusiera a responder a cada uno estaría 24 horas al día en internet y atenta contra mi estilo de vida. Entonces, aquí les mando un abrazo enorme a todos y gracias por acompañarme. Los quiero.
Hasta aquí compartimos Citas Conscientes con Cecilia Taborelli. La invitación está hecha para el próximo jueves a las 7 p.m. hora de Miami por jltradio.com. Citas Conscientes, el espacio para nutrir mente, cuerpo y alma.